But first, we've found another Jürgen clip. This is Jürgen Meyer, the man who's from GB Energy, of course. They've just done a deal with some Highlands and Islands Enterprise Association up in Scotland to do very little of anything. He was in Oslo, apparently, in February. Check this out.
Well, I'm here at the Oslo Energy Forum, and it's a fascinating discussion about how we as an industry are going to master this revolution for clean power. Now, what is fascinating is that, without a doubt, people here at this forum are saying we in the UK are leaders in the pack. We've got the biggest offshore wind market in the whole world in the United Kingdom, and we have a mission to accelerate clean power at an incredible pace. Now, here is the second really interesting thing, and that is we in the UK can't do it without the partners here in Norway. Norway is massively invested in UK's clean power revolution. Companies like Equinor and Statkraft investing in our carbon capture, in our offshore wind, in new technologies like floating offshore wind, all creating clean power for us in Great Britain and creating British jobs for British people.
This will be the same Norway that's selling us petrol, presumably, and oil from the North Sea, where we also have the ability to do so, but have chosen not to. Kathryn Porter, very good morning to you, Kathryn.
Good morning.
I'm afraid Jürgen gets more and more deranged with every sort of clip that we find of him. You know, there he is in Oslo, who we're actually importing oil from Norway, despite the fact that we've got more or less the same shared oil and gas field that we could actually be plundering ourselves. And he says we've got a mission for clean energy. I don't hear any mission. I don't believe we voted for any mission on that, did we?
No, and the thing that he really missed out in his list of interesting things was that we have the most expensive industrial electricity prices in the developed world and the fourth most expensive domestic electricity prices in the developed world.
Yeah.
And that is correlated to the fact we have so much wind power. I wouldn't be boasting about that in his shoes.
No, absolutely not. Let's talk about this boiler tax, which is under the new Ed Miliband net zero drive. He's basically trying to convince everybody to get rid of the gas boiler and get a heat pump, but that's not going very well, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, last year we passed the incredible milestone of 250,000 heat pumps installed across the country. Obviously, we've got about 23 million households, so that's a very, very low percentage of the total number of households having a heat pump. The government's target is to install 600,000 a year. We're barely managing a tenth of that, and we only have about a tenth of the installers that we'd need to achieve that target. But so in response to this not going so well, the government has increased and extended the grants that are available, but they only cover the cost of the heat pump itself and not the ancillary works, which can be very expensive, such as installing larger radiators, new pipe work, better insulation, and so on. And of course, many people just don't want a heat pump because of the cost of electricity. The operating costs can be high. So now he's going to punish the people that sell boilers by saying if they don't sell enough heat pumps, they will be fined. And the boiler manufacturers think that they won't be able to sell the heat pumps because people don't want them and because there aren't enough people to install them. And so they're basically factoring in those fines and adding them onto the price at which they'll sell the boilers that people do want.
Yeah, it is mad, isn't it? I mean, the more you step back and look at it, the more crazy it is. I'll tell you what I've noticed this past weekend. Everywhere I've gone, I've noticed more and more sort of electric charge points being installed in various places. I went past a McDonald's the other day, and in the car park they've installed a load of these charge points, but none of them were in use. There was nobody actually charging their cars. You know, I've seen more petrol stations now installing them where people can go and plug themselves in instead of actually buying petrol. But again, you don't see anybody on them.
No, and they have quite low performance rates in terms of actually functioning. Ones that do function in places like motorway service stations, they find people with, queuing up to have to use them. Yeah. If you want to fill up your car with petrol, you drive up, you put it in your car, it takes minutes. Particularly if you pay at the pump, you can be in and out in 5 minutes. Yeah. You're never going to be able to do that with an electric car.
No, that is the problem. And what about this story about Elon Musk and Tesla thinking about trying to get into Britain with an electricity supply company? They say they want to take on some of the bigger companies here, such as Octopus and British Gas.
Well, it's kind of funny that they're trying to take on Octopus because they're basically going to try and go head to head with Octopus at its own game, which is offering these agile tariffs, these flexible time of use tariffs centered around car charging. But I don't know that he's going to find it particularly easy. Electricity and gas supply in Britain is a very low margin business. He thinks that he's going to be able to exploit these variable tariffs to be able to offer grid services, but the value of those services is very low.
Yeah.
Typically, the savings that you can achieve are, of the orders of pence. And the people who buy Teslas in this country are not people who are very motivated by saving a few pennies here and there. So I'm not sure that this is really going to work very well for him.
No. Well, much it doesn't work that well for Elon Musk, but he sort of figures it out in the end, doesn't he? I think it seems like a pretty toxic environment to get involved in the electricity market in this country because it's so overpriced and it's so ridiculous and filled with all manner of kind of trapdoors and potholes and, taxes here and stealth taxes. I mean, I don't even really know. I don't think most people know precisely what makes up our electricity bill, but we know that it doesn't reflect reality.
No, it's actually crazy. We don't have what most people would recognise as a market for the sale of electricity to households and businesses. And people get quite upset about their suppliers, but actually the suppliers are really stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's a hugely regulated market and they have very little flexibility in terms of their charging structures, which means that they can't really innovate new products because they can't afford to lose money through experimentation. So you have very high electricity prices on the wholesale side, partly driven by the carbon tax, which is now quite a large percentage of the wholesale price. And with the whole alignment with the EU carbon pricing, that's just increasing. It's gone up quite significantly since January when Keir Starmer made that original announcement.
Right.
Then you have obviously the cost of bringing the electricity from the power stations to people's homes, the normal basic network costs and the basic costs that suppliers incur to do billing and all of that stuff. But then on top of that, you have all of the levies for renewable energy, you have the smart meter installation, you have all the extra grid connections and the extra balancing costs that you have from renewable energy. Then you have the energy company's obligation, where suppliers are supposed to try and help people install insulation, which isn't something that suppliers have any natural ability to do, really.
Yeah.
That's a construction job, not an energy job. And then you have the warm homes discount, which is just straight up wealth redistribution.
Yeah.
The suppliers have to contact the DWP to find out which of their customers are eligible to receive this discount, and then they calculate how much that will cost, and then they increase the bills of all the other customers that they have so that they can give the discount to the eligible customers. So this, and then they charge the admin fee on top of that because obviously it's expensive to administer this scheme. So you have all of this stuff piled on top of what should be basically a straightforward business, which is just procuring electricity and organising its delivery.
Just paying for
and
what
you have
you
all
use.
of this other stuff.
Well, yeah, just paying for what you use. But like I say, it's a sort of bewildering number of stealth taxes and probably more to come, right?
Yes, well, so Ed Miliband wants to take a large part of his £22 billion carbon capture schemes through electricity bills. So that will be yet another levy added onto bills that suppliers have the headache of administering, and obviously consumers are left paying. And it's worth noting as well that if Rachel Reeves wants to increase taxes through the Treasury, there's quite a lot of scrutiny of that. You've got a lot of people like the IFS and the various other bodies who will pore over those taxes. They will look at the impacts that's likely to have on the economy, on living standards and all the rest of it. Ed Miliband is imposing these stealth taxes and it doesn't attract anything like the same level of scrutiny.
No, it's extraordinary, isn't it? Well, he never comes on my show, but we'll try and get him on and answer for it. We'll see what we can do. Kathryn, good to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed. Kathryn Porter, independent energy analyst.